So we are at page 71 of the Gospel of Holy Mother on the 14th of April, 1920. And this is the last, I believe, the last reminiscence of Saraybala. Saraybala we're still doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Saraybala. Saraybala. Yeah, okay. 14th April, 1920. The evening arati, Vesper service in the shrine was over. The mother had fever. Raj Bihari Maharaj was rubbing her hands and Brahmachari Varada her feet. They were taking her temperature and the mother was lying with her eyes closed. I stood by her side. Once the mother asked, "Who is there?" Raj Bihari Maharaj replied to her in a low voice. I heard that the temperature was 100.1 degrees. Sister Sudhir was giving a treat to the girls of the Nivedita school, as it was the Bengali New Year. So Sarala, the disciple who was attending on the mother, had gone to the school. The mother asked Brahmachari Varada to bring Sarala from there, for she had to feed Rajhu's child. It was not yet time to feed the child, but he was weeping. Rajhu wanted to feed him just then. The mother had tried to dissuade her. This only enraged Rajhu, who began to abuse the mother. She said, "You may die and I shall light your funeral pyre." We were deeply pained to hear this. The mother was so badly ill and Rajhu was abusing her in such a fashion at that time. Rajhu went on shouting out many more abusive words. Such conduct on her part had become quite frequent. The mother, who had unbounded patience, would put up with such behavior on all occasions. But this time, due to her protracted illness, she too got annoyed and remarked, "You will realize the consequences of this afterwards. What a sad plight you will be in after my death. You will understand. I do not know how many kicks and thrashings with broomsticks are in store for you." At this, Rajhu became still more irritated and abusive. After a time, Sarala arrived and fed the child. The experience of that day cast a gloom over my mind. The mother asked me to rub her feet. Just then, Raj Bihari Maharaj entered the room and began to fix up the mosquito netting. So I took leave of her, and the mother said by way of bidding farewell, "Come." This was the last command and the last word that I heard from her. I had to return to my Kaligat residence. Afterwards, for several days, I could get no opportunity to visit her due to the illness of many at home and other difficulties. I used to get regular information about her health and came to know that she was sinking day by day. At the earliest opportunity, I went to see her, my heart filled with the fear that we were to lose our most precious possession in life very soon. I was, however, still hoping against hope. And that's her last reminiscence in this gospel. Now we're starting. We did this one with Swami Arupananda, and I don't think it hurts to read it over again. This is conversations recorded by Swami Arupananda. Jairambati, 1st February 1907, 8:30 a.m. Uncle Varada said to me, "The mother has sent for you." I went inside the inner apartment and found the Holy Mother standing at the door of her room waiting for me. As I saluted her, she asked, "Where do you come from?" I told her the name of the district of my native village. "Mother, I suppose you are now reading the teachings of the Master." I did not reply to these words. She spoke to me as if we had known each other for a long time. I still remember her tender and affectionate look. Mother, do you belong to the Kshatriya class? Kayasta class, caste. Disciple, yes. Mother, how many brothers have you? Disciple, 4. Mother, sit down and take some refreshments. With these words, the mother spread a small carpet on the floor of the veranda and gave me some luchis and sweets that had been offered in the shrine on the previous night. I told the mother that I had walked all the way from Tarekswar on the previous day, spending the night in the village of Deshra to the northwest of Jairambati, in the house of a young man whom I had met at the railway station in Haripal. The mother listened to all this and said to me, after I had finished my refreshments, "Don't bathe now, you have walked a great deal." Then she gave me a betel leaf to chew. She sent for me again after the noonday worship. After the offerings were over, she first of all served me food. She served it with her own hands on a sal leaf on the porch of her room. "Eat well, and remember, don't feel shy," she said to me as I was enjoying the meal. So much like probably his own mother would have said. Don't be shy, ask for seconds if you want them, eat as much as you want. Afterwards, she gave me a betel leaf. I went to the Holy Mother again at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and found her kneading dough for bread. She was seated on the floor, facing the east, her legs stretched out in front of her. The oven stood near her. Casting a benign glance upon me, she said, "What do you want?" Disciple, "I want to talk to you." Mother, "What do you want to talk about? Sit down here." She gave me a seat. Disciple, Mother, people say that our master is God, eternal and absolute. What do you say? Mother, yes, he is God, eternal and absolute to me. As she had said to me, I went on, is it true that to every woman her husband is God, eternal and absolute? I'm not asking the question in that sense. Mother, yes, he is God, eternal and absolute to me as my husband, and in a general way as well. Then I thought that if Sri Ramakrishna were God eternal, then she, the Holy Mother, must be the divine power, the mother of the universe. She must be identical with his divine consort. She and he are like Sita and Rama, Radha and Krishna. I had come to the Holy Mother, cherishing this faith in my heart. I asked her, if that be the case, then why do I see you preparing bread like an ordinary woman? It is Maya, I suppose. Is it not? Mother, it is Maya indeed. Otherwise, why should I fall into such a state? But God loves to sport as a human being. Sri Krishna was born as a cowherd boy, and Rama is the son of Dasharatha. Disciple, do you ever remember your real nature? Mother, yes, I recall it now and then. At that time, I say to myself, what is this that I am doing? What is all this about? Then I remember the house, buildings, and children, pointing to with the palm of her hand to the houses, and forget my real self. I used to visit the mother almost daily in her room. She would lie down on her bed and talk with me, with Radhu lying asleep by her side. An oil lamp would cast a dim light in the room. On some days, a maidservant rubbed her feet with medicated oil for rheumatism. One day, she said to me in the course of conversation, whenever the thought of a disciple comes to my mind and I yearn to see him, then he either comes here or writes a letter to me. You must have come here prompted by a certain feeling. Perhaps you have in your mind the thought of the divine mother of the universe. Disciple, are you the mother of all? Mother, yes. Disciple, even of those birds and animals? Mother, yes, of these also. Disciple, then why should they suffer so much? Mother, in this birth, they must have these experiences. One evening, I had the following conversation with the Holy Mother in her room. Mother, you all have come to me because you are my very own. Disciple, am I your own? Mother, yes, my own. Is there any doubt about it? If a man is the very own of another, they remain inseparably connected in the successive cycles of time. Disciple, all address you as Apni. And there is a footnote here about the Bengali. Apni, there are 3 words in Bengali by which one can address another. Apni is used when a person addresses his superior, entitled to respect. Tumi is used to address an equal and is a term of intimacy and endearment. Tui is used to address inferiors, servants. Disciple, all address you as Agni, but I could not do so. The word Tumi comes spontaneous and naturally. Mother, that is good indeed. It denotes an intimate relationship. In the course of our talk, I said to her, you must have taken the responsibilities of those whom you have initiated with the sacred mantra. Then why do you say when we request you to fulfill a desire, I will speak to the master about it? Can't you take our responsibility? I had as yet not felt the urge to be initiated, hence the question. Mother, I have indeed taken your responsibility. Disciple, please bless me, O Mother, that I may have purity of mind and attachment to God. Mother, I had a classmate in school. I would have been happy if I could bestow upon Ramakrishna 1/4 of the love which I cherished for my chum. Mother, Amen. That is true indeed. Well, I shall speak to the master about it. Disciple, why do you only say that you will speak to the master? Are you different from him? My desire will certainly be fulfilled by your blessing alone. Mother, my child, if you can get perfect knowledge through my blessings, then I bless you with all my heart and soul. Is it ever possible for a man to free himself unaided from the clutches of Maya? It was for this that the master performed spiritual austerities to the utmost extent and gave the results thereof for the redemption of mankind. Disciple, how can one love Sri Ramakrishna without seeing him? Mother, yes, that's true. Can one ever have intimate relationship with a mere airy being? Disciple, when shall I have the vision of the master? Mother, you shall certainly see him. You shall see the master at the right time. One day, the mother lay on her bed while Kamini, the maid, was rubbing her knee with some medicated oil for rheumatism. The mother said to me, the body is one thing and the soul another. The soul pervades the whole body. Therefore, I have been feeling the pain in my leg. If I should withdraw my mind from the knee, then I would not feel any pain there. Referring to initiation by mantra, I said to her, Mother, what's the need of taking the mantra from a teacher? Suppose a man does not repeat his mantra. Will it not do for him if he simply repeats Mother Kali, Mother Kali? Mother, the mantra purifies the body. Man becomes pure by repeating the mantra of God, the name of God. Listen to a story. One day, Narada went to Vaikuntha to see the Lord and had a long conversation with him. Narada had not at that time been initiated. After Narada left the place, The Lord said to Lakshmi, "Purify the place with cow dung." "Why, Lord?" asked Lakshmi. "Narada is your great devotee. Why then do you say this?" The Lord said, "Narada has not as yet received his initiation. The body cannot be pure without initiation." One should accept the mantra from a guru at least for the purification of the body. The Vaishnava, after initiating the disciple, says to him, "Now all depends upon your mind." It is said, the human teacher utters the mantra into the ear, but God breathes the spirit into the soul. Everything depends upon one's mind. Nothing can be achieved without purity of mind. It is said, the aspirant may have received the grace of the Guru, the Lord, and the Vaishnava, but he comes to grief without the grace of one. That one is the mind. The mind of the aspirant should be gracious to him. We hear this often in our teachings all the time. You need the grace of the Guru, the grace of God, and the grace of your own mind. Because, as they said in the Gita, you raise the self by the self. We have to do this. Talking of her mother, the Holy Mother said, "My mother used to be highly pleased when any one of the devotees came to her place. She would exclaim, 'Ah, my grandchild has come.' She would look after them with great attention. She looked upon this family of devotees as her own flesh and blood." Continuing, the Holy Mother said, "When the Master passed away, I also wanted to leave my body. He appeared before me and said, 'No, you must remain here. There are many things to be done.' I myself realized later on that this was true. I had so many things to do. The Master used to say, 'The people of Calcutta live like worms, squirming in darkness. You will guide them.' He said that he would live for 300 years in a subtle body in the hearts of the devotees. He further said that he would have many devotees among white people. After the passing away of the Master, I was greatly frightened, for I used to put on a sari with thin red borders and wear gold bangles on my wrist, which made me afraid of people's criticism." This shows once again Holy Mother's rising above the castes and norms of the time. The footnote says, Hindu widows, according to traditional custom, are required to put on a white sari without any border and to give up all ornaments. The mother first wanted to follow this custom of Hindu widows, but Sri Ramakrishna appeared in a vision and told her not to do so, as he was not really dead. Remember, in the gospel, earlier in the reminiscences, she had the vision of him saying, "I have just crossed to another room. Leave these on." And she asked the Lahas of Kamarpukur whether she should wear her gold bangles, and they said, "Yes, of course." I was then at Kamarpukur. Sri Ramakrishna started appearing often before me. Then I gradually got rid of that fear. One day the Master appeared before me and asked me to feed him with khichdi. I cooked the dish and offered it before Raghavir in the temple. Then I mentally fed the Master with it. Harish was then staying at Kamarpukur for a few days. One day when I was entering the house after visiting a neighbor, he began to chase me. He was then in a distracted state of mind. He had lost his senses on account of his wife. There was then no one else in the house. I did not know where to go and ran quickly behind the barn. He would not, however, leave me. I ran and ran around it 7 times until I got exhausted. Then my true self came out. I threw him to the ground, pressed my knee on his chest, drew out his tongue, and slapped him hard on the cheeks until my fingers became red from slapping. He began to gasp for breath. Now, should I read you this long? I'll read you this long footnote. Harish was a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna who used to frequently visit the Baranagar monastery of the Ramakrishna Brotherhood at its early inception. It is said that his wife, afraid of his tendency towards a life of renunciation, sought to deter him from it with drugs and charms, which eventually made his mind deranged. In this deranged condition, he once visited Kamarpukur, and the mother, coming to know of his condition, wrote to the Math, that's the Brotherhood, asking that someone should come and take him away. Accordingly, Swami Saraybala and Niranjanananda started for this purpose. It was just before their arrival that the above-mentioned incident took place. The mother's words, "Then my true nature came out," is given a mystical meaning by many. They believe that the mother, being a manifestation of the divine Devi, could take any form she wanted. In this instance, the consciousness of Bhagala, one of the Mahavidyas, must have been on her, as Bhagala is said to have killed an Asura in the same manner as the mother sought to punish Harish. This punishment had a salutary effect on Harish. He fled to Vrindavan, and gradually his mental equilibrium was restored. Apart from these mystical implications, this incident, together with that of the dacoit father, reveal certain most unsuspected features of the mother's human character and personality also. Can you imagine? Here she is, this very quiet woman in a small village in Bengal who makes bread and takes care of the family, and all of a sudden she rises up as the divine mother of the universe and whoop, takes care of the problems. The talk turned to Yogan Maharaj, Swami Yogananda. Mother, none loved me as did my Yogan. Should anyone give him some money, he would keep it aside, saying, "It will be useful for mother when she goes on pilgrimage." He would be always near me. The other monks would sometimes tease him for staying in this household full of women. He would ask me to address him as Yoga. Before passing away, he said, "Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and Sri Ramakrishna, they have all come, mother, to take me." About herself, she said, "Balaram Babu used to refer to me as the great ascetic, the embodiment of forbearance. Can you call him a man who is devoid of compassion? He is a veritable beast. Sometimes I forget myself in compassion. Then I do not remember who I am." Finally, the mother said, "I feel very free with you. See me in Calcutta and stay with me." At that time, I lived with my people, though I had been cherishing an intense desire to embrace the monastic life. I said to myself, perhaps in future it will be possible for me, through her grace, to be a monk and live near her. When I was in Jairambati, Radhu's mother, Saraybala, was mentally deranged. She had taken to her father's house all the jewelry of her daughter Radhu. Taking advantage of her insane condition, her father snatched away all the jewelry. This made her even more distracted. On her return to Jairambati, Radhu's mother wept in the temple of Simhavahini, praying for the jewelry. It was dusk. I was talking to the Holy Mother in her room when suddenly she said to me, "My child, I must go now. That crazy sister-in-law has none else to call her own but me. She is weeping before the deity for the jewelry." With these words, the mother left the room, but I could not hear any sound of weeping, nor was it possible to do so at such a distance. Yet she had recognized the voice. She returned with Radhu's mother. The latter said to her, "O sister-in-law, you have put away my jewelry. You have deprived me of it." The mother said, "Had these ornaments belonged to me, then I would have thrown them away at once like the filth of a crow." Referring to Radhu's mother, she said to me, laughing, "Girish used to say that she was my mad companion." At first, I used to hesitate to address the Holy Mother's mother. My own mother had died during my childhood. One morning, the Holy Mother sent me to a certain person on an errand. As I was about to leave, she asked me, "What will you say to him?" I said, "Well, why? I shall say to him, 'She asked me to tell you,' etc." "No, my child," said the Holy Mother, "tell him, 'The mother asked me to tell you.'" She emphasized the word mother. One morning, I was reading aloud to the mother and a few devotees on the porch of her room. I was reading a life of Sri Ramakrishna entitled Ramakrishna Punti, written in verse. In the chapter on her marriage with Sri Ramakrishna, the author eulogized her greatly and referred to as the mother of the universe. As I read that passage, the mother left the porch. A few minutes earlier, I had read to her some pages from the Bodhini, in which had been published a portion of the Katamrita by M. No one else was present then. I had been reading the following passage. Girish, "I have a desire." "Master, what is it?" Girish, "I want love of God for the sake of love." Master, "That kind of love is possible only for the Ishvara Kodis. Ordinary men cannot achieve it." I asked the Holy Mother, "What does the Master mean by that?" Mother, "The Ishvara Kodis have all their desires fulfilled by God, Purnakam. Therefore, they have no worldly desires. Love for the sake of divine love is not possible so long as a man has any desire." Disciple, "Mother, do your own brothers belong to the same level as these Ishvara Kodis?" I thought that as they were her brothers, they must have the same spiritual capacities as the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. At this, the mother simply looked scornfully as if she were going to say, "What a comparison. What can one achieve by simply being my brother?" To be the intimate disciple of the Master is quite a different thing. One morning, the Holy Mother's whole family was pretty hard to deal with. They were practically mad, most of them, or greedy, or they expected her to do take care of them completely. One morning, the Holy Mother was assisting in husking paddy. It was almost her daily job. I asked her, "Mother, why should you work so hard?" "My child," she said in reply, "I have done much more than is necessary to make my life a model." One night, all were asleep in the house of the Holy Mother when the husband of Nalini, a niece of the Holy Mother, arrived unexpectedly with a bullock cart to take Nalini to his house. Nalini had returned from her husband's place and did not want to go back. Hearing of her husband's intention, Nalini shut the door of her room and threatened suicide if her husband forced her to go back with him. The Holy Mother, however, assured her that she would not have to go back with her husband, and she opened the room. There was confusion in the family for the whole night, and the Holy Mother sat through the night on the porch of Nalini's room. She put out the lamp at dawn and repeated to herself, Ganga, Gita, Gayatri, Bhagavata, Bhakta, Bhagavan, Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna. Now that is protection by the Divine Mother right in person. And she says, we all have the protection of her, but not quite where we can see it like that. One day, the Holy Mother sent me with an old servant of the family of Pugleys, the mad sister-in-law, father, to persuade him either to come to Chairambati or to return the ornaments he had taken from his daughter. After a great deal of persuasion, he accompanied us, but did not bring the ornaments with him. The mother begged him to return them and thus free Pugly from her mental agony, but the greedy Brahmin turned a deaf ear to her request. I intended to return home on the day before the Shivaratri, as I wanted to attend Sri Ramakrishna's birthday celebration at Bellarmont, which came off 2 days after the Shivaratri. I told the mother about it. She asked me to go to Kamarpukur first. I had left home with a great yearning to see the Holy Mother alone, and in my eagerness, I had forgotten to take my umbrella or an extra piece of cloth. At the request of the mother, I agreed to visit the birthplace of the master. She gave me a fresh piece of cloth to put on and asked me to take it with me. Mother, have you any money with you? You will require carriage hire. Take the money from me. Disciple, I have money with me. I have not to take it from you. Mother, write to me after you reach home. I could not feed my son properly. I could not prepare anything good for him. This was because this time there was great confusion in the family on account of Nalini and Pugly. I prostrated myself before her and set out with tears in my eyes. The Holy Mother accompanied us for some distance and then watched us until we were out of sight. I could not refrain from weeping out of devotion for her until I had reached Kamarpukur. After my arrival in Kamarpukur, I was shown the room where the Holy Mother had lived. There I saw a picture of the mother, which made me still more restless to see her again. Next day, M and Prabodh Babu went to Jairambati via Kamarpukur, halting at the latter place for a few hours. In the evening, Lalit Babu, a disciple of the mother, arrived there, dressed in turban, trousers, and long toga. He was on his way to Jairambati. As it would be difficult for me to go from Kamarpukur to Calcutta alone, some devotees suggested that I might revisit Jairambati and go to Calcutta in the company of Lalit Babu. So I went with him to Jairambati once again and said to the mother, I am here again. The mother was greatly pleased and said, that's very good. You can go to Calcutta with Lalit. After the Shivaratri festival was over, the devotees sat down for their meal. They were served some prasad on leaf plates. I asked them what it was. They said it was the prasad of the Holy Mother. I also partook of it. Later on, I said to the mother, they all enjoyed your prasad, but you never offered it to me. My child, said the mother, you never asked for it. How could I suggest it? What great humility. The next day, Lalit Babu was sent on a palanquin to get Radhu's ornaments from her grandfather. Now, can you imagine, here's the mother, the Divine Mother of the universe, with all this hoo-ha going on about some jewelry that belonged to her sister-in-law. This has been 3 days now we've been on this. Lalit posed as a government official and carried a letter with him, supposed to have been written by a high police officer in Calcutta. The Holy Mother asked him to accompany Lalit Babu, lest the latter, a young man, should use insulting language when speaking to the old Brahmin. However, he succeeded in bringing Radhu's grandfather with the ornaments to Jairambati in the afternoon. At about 2 o'clock in the morning, we heard the mother was spending a sleepless night. She was feeling nervous. Em and I entered the inner apartments. Well, while all were looking for medicines, I asked mother the cause of her ailment. She said after they had left to fetch the ornaments, I felt worried and feared that they might insult the old Brahmana. That made me nervous. I was amazed to see the compassion of the mother for the Brahmana who was at the root of all these troubles. The next day, I left with the party for Calcutta. The mother had told Lalit Babu about me. He is very devoted to God. Please take him with you. We all prostrated ourselves before the mother. Her eyes became filled with tears. She was moved to tears as she accompanied us to the outer gate of the house. At Vishnupur, on our way to Calcutta, M. Prabodh Babu and others visited the shrine of Mrinmayi, an aspect of the Divine Mother. But Lalit Babu and I went directly to the railway station and boarded the train. M. sent Prabodh Babu to request us also to visit the shrine, but we did not care to see Mrinmayi, literally made of earth, as we had seen Chinmayi, a living goddess. I arrived at the Bellarmont, and after witnessing Sri Ramakrishna's birthday festival, returned home. We'll read one little reminiscence at Udbodhan in Calcutta, 1907. Next winter, I came to Calcutta to pay my respects to the Holy Mother. On the first day I went to see her, she was still staying at the house of Balaram Bose. But by the time of my second visit, she had shifted to her newly constructed house in Calcutta, the Udbodhan office. On entering the house, I saw Dr. Kanjilal reading a newspaper. In answer to my query, he said, the mother had an attack of pox. She has not completely recovered yet. You may see her after 2 weeks. I had not been aware of her illness. Swami Arupananda said to me, come tomorrow. You may see her then. Also take your meal here. When I went the next day, the mother showed me the pox marks. Most of them had disappeared. Through her blessings and the arrangement made by Swami Arupananda, I was staying at Bellarmont. On being informed of this, the Holy Mother remarked, that's good. He has fallen a victim to the influence of monastic life. Live in the Bellarmont. May you get love for the Master. You have my blessings. I used to take milk for the mother now and then from the Bellarmont. That would also give me the opportunity to pay my respects to her. One day, while entering her house with milk, I saw her preparing beetle rolls, assisted by Nalini, her niece. Seeing me, Nalini was about to leave the room. The mother checked her and said, don't go away. He is my child. Sit here. In the course of conversation, she referred to the relatives of Maku's husband. Maku was another niece, and said, I have to take special care of them, otherwise they feel offended. But you are my children. You are satisfied with whatever I do for you. You do not mind if I cannot always show you attention, but those relatives feel very much offended if I do not give them the best of everything, or if I fail in the least in attending to them. After a while, I asked her, Mother, how does one get purity of mind and yearning for God? Mother, oh, you will certainly have these, as you have taken refuge in the Master. You will achieve all. Pray to him sincerely. Disciple, I can't do it. Please do pray for me. Mother, I always pray to Sri Ramakrishna to make your mind pure and holy. Disciple, yes, Mother, I shall have everything if you but pray for me. After a few months, I was sent to Gatal, not very far from Jairambati, to give relief to the flood-stricken people in that area. I took leave for 3 days and visited the Holy Mother at Jairambati on the occasion of Jagadatri Puja. Atul was with me. This was his first visit to the Mother. We went to Jairambati via Kamarpukur, and as soon as we reached her house, Ashu Maharaj, an attendant of the Holy Mother, said, "It is nice that you've come. The Mother has been sad because of not seeing any devotee for some time past." The Mother asked us to stay for a meal and fed us sumptuously. Early next morning, we had to return to the relief work. While taking leave of the Mother, I said to her, "I shall come again." Atul said like a schoolboy, "Please remember." And that's the end of that day. I believe this is the Atul who later became a monk also in the Mott, isn't it?
I don't know, it might be Girish's brother.
There's an Atul Maharaj who was, I think, Swami Vivedishananda's cousin or brother, who was the Bundari at Bellarmont in the 30s. So, does anyone have any comments on how the Holy Mother dealt with her family and with her disciples? How the family treated her one way and the disciples, she said, "We're happy with anything." Well, it gives us much to look at in how she had to deal with her family. If anyone has a difficult family situation, we can certainly learn from her. The Queen of Forbearance. Any comments? Any questions?
Mataji, I have a question.
Yes.
Pranams. Yeah. She says that initiation purifies the body.
Yes.
So I've read that so many times in the gospel, and I'm not sure I totally understand what that purification means, because maybe because my understanding of the word may not be complete. Because the gross body, we have to purify it every day by, even when we do worship, we purify everything. So what is this purification that she's talking about?
Okay. Did everyone hear the question? What is the purification they're talking about? Purification by mantra, rather than, even when you do worship, you do a ritualistic purification of the body. The mantra, by repeating it, purifies the body and the mind. The ritualistic purification of the body is a reminder of, you must become God to worship God, and you must purify both the mind and the body. Now, the purity they're talking about, I believe, is it's the purification of the physical body, but also of the subtle body when the mantra is involved. That's my understanding of it. What's yours, Pravrajika?
I'll just say it purifies, Swami Arupananda said it purifies you body and birth. In other words, you've had so many previous births, and so.
Okay. Pravrajika remembered what Swami Prabhavananda had said, it purifies the body of this birth.
Purify body, it's purifying body and birth.
Body and birth.
All those samskars.
And all the previous births. But the ritualistic purification in the worship, so often we forget that we don't remember that we have actually taken the name of the Lord when we have become initiated and we have become pure. We forget that on a daily basis. We tend to revert back to our previous thinking. So in the ritualistic worship, when you purify the mind, it's a reminder that you are pure. Does that make sense to you, Preeti?
Yes, Mataji, I think after so many years, I have found an answer, and it makes absolute sense, actually. Thank you so much.
The more you do it, the more you'll find your answer too. We all,
Yeah.
Swami Prabhavananda, when I first learned the worship, I asked him many questions, and he looked at me and he said, just do it, and you will experience it.
Yeah.
I kind of went, okay. And if you do it with everything you can take to it, you do experience it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Any questions? It's good to see your names, Lito and Dottie. Is everything going well? I know you can't answer me because it doesn't have audio, but we send our best. And I don't know who the phone is, but I'm glad you're here. And Sarah, of course, we're glad to see you.
Mito and Dottie say we are doing well.
Oh, good. Excellent. I can't read it. It's too far away from me. That's why Fanya read it to me. Well, I'm glad to hear and see all of you, and we'll meet again next week. Stay safe.
Hey, you too.
Cool if you can this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be safe, ladies.
Yep.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, we'll see you again next week.